Okay, I am debating or doing my rebuttal on the legalization of marijuana for the affirmative side. First off, I want to touch on Taylor brought up some good points, some of which I agree with, some of which I do not. First of all, his point on tobacco and alcohol and how it's too late to turn back, kind of thing. The points I touched on about the addictiveness and the dangers of tobacco and alcohol, he's right. It is too late to turn back and say these things have been legal for however long and now we're going to make them illegal. You can't do it. But here's the thing, just because of that, I don't think that marijuana should be looked at um, in the same sense. There's no documented cases of deaths due to overdose from marijuana. There are plenty from alcohol. Tobacco can lead to cancer. One of the number one leading causes of preventable death from tobacco and alcohol. Um, so I do agree with him saying it's too late to turn back, but I don't think that really has too much of a correlation with the proposal of legalizing marijuana for recreational purposes. Um, he also touched on children, the effect that legalizing marijuana could have on children. Um, what I have to say to that is you look at Colorado and Washington legalizing marijuana for recreational purposes, and a lot of the money they're making through that, they're pouring right back in to educating children on those things. Um, I feel that by educating kids on marijuana, by the time they start getting older to the ages where they might want to start experimenting with that, they'll think twice. Not because it's incredibly dangerous or anything like that, but um, just like alcohol and tobacco, yeah, you get a few adolescents that experiment with that, but for the most part, um, it's not anybody that's in the public school system is getting their hands on it, and you have every student both under the age of 18 smoking cigarettes and drinking alcohol, and it doesn't work like that. Um, Also, the way that it works is that if marijuana was legalized for recreational purposes, it would be regulated such as tobacco and alcohol. Um, like in Colorado, you have to be 21 or older to purchase it. You have to have a valid ID to purchase it. And that's not to say, you look at tobacco and alcohol and there is minors that get their hands on it. It happens. I mean, it's really it's unavoidable. But what it comes down to is being responsible. Um, if there were parents going out and buying marijuana, it's about being a good parent. It's not really relevant to say any kid's going to be able to get their hands on it because it doesn't work like that. How many parents do you know are going out and buying alcohol for their 10-year-old kid? It doesn't happen. Taylor also touched on research, and he brought up a good point that I would agree with that um, if the proposal for legalizing marijuana for recreational purposes was to be widely considered, I would not be opposed to a small research period where there could be time to investigate a little more, not necessarily to expose all these dangers that supposedly exist, but just so that we could all learn a little more about um, the effects it has in comparison to alcohol. There's all these studies, and anyone who's taken a driver's ed course knows that there are charts and things like that that show how many drinks you've had to how much time you need before you're sober and to drive. Because Taylor also brought up driving while under the influence of marijuana, which um, it is a concern. Um, by no means when I say that I'm for the legalization of marijuana for recreational purposes, that people should be smoking a joint and then going out and driving. No, that's just like alcohol. You can't drive with alcohol in your system. You shouldn't be able to drive with marijuana in your system. And you're endangering the lives of others, and I can agree with that. the law enforcement costs that would be saved um, aren't just being pulled out of thin air. By legalizing marijuana for recreational purposes, it would save on court costs, the imprisonment of marijuana-related crimes, and enforcing those laws on the street against uh, users of marijuana. To touch again on driving, I still feel that if marijuana was legalized for recreational purposes, that it wouldn't take all these laws away. Driving under the influence would still exist, and that is something that we'd still have to spend money on. But all the other things that I listed, like the court costs, imprisonment, those kind of things, would ultimately be saved in the process, while still in trying to enforce that you cannot drive under the influence, endangering the lives of others. According to CNN, 990 million could be raised with the legalization of marijuana just in the first 6 months, and 392 million could be made in sales tax. There is a proposal that I think could benefit our economy. That would be selling marijuana with a sales tax of $50 per ounce. So every ounce it's purchased, it's $50 more just in tax revenue, which put together could quickly add up. All in all, I think that the effect legalizing marijuana would have on children wouldn't be too heavily of an effect. Like I said, we can pour money back into educating them and making them more familiar with the stigma that surrounds marijuana, make them more familiar so that it's not something that's unknown, where they want to try it because it sounds cool, but they don't really know that much about it, so why not just try it? If we educate them, it'll help them not want to do it until they're of legal age. The research, like I said, I'm not opposed to a small research period to learn more about marijuana, and that we can, as a nation as a whole, become more knowledgeable than we are currently, because a lot of it now is small studies and speculation we don't know a ton about. So I wouldn't be opposed to a short research period to learn more about it. And finally, the economic benefits, the saving of law enforcement costs, I think could boost our economy and save us some money that we're spending right now on something that isn't a huge detriment to society, like Taylor said it is. There's a lot more violent crimes and acts, domestic abuses that happen occurring because of alcohol, not so much marijuana. The only thing people are abusing on marijuana is junk food and pizza. So I think that it would be beneficial for our economy. I don't think the effect on children would be too much. And tobacco and alcohol aside, marijuana is not as dangerous as tobacco and alcohol for our bodies. So I'm for the legalization of marijuana for recreational purposes.